We got a lot to get to in today's episode, man. I'm not sure how we're gonna edit this. I was talking with Brayden. We might, do like 2 movie reviews, and then the first week one we might do as a separate movie review. And I'm gonna pull up some stuff here just so I have all the information in front of me. We watched 3 movies since last time we've seen you for a couple different reasons. We came out with the website actorspov.com. Go check that out. It's in the link down in the description below. Go check out the website. You guys heard us talk about it for the past, like 4 episodes on Actors POV.
Forever.
Now you can go check it out.
And now
the
it's
website
here.
has a full full release just for you, baby. You guys know what's up. So go check that out, actorspov.com. And then also we got hit by a hurricane, dude. That was fun.
That was crazy.
Love that, man. And then stuff just got it got really busy and crazy. So we're back. We're back, baby. A little bit more depressed, at least for me, because my football team is not good. But we're still pushing.
Mine is unpredictable, so we're still pushing.
Someday maybe good, someday me shit.
Sometimes we play a bad team, lose to them. Sometimes we play the best teams, we beat them. You know what I mean? It doesn't make fucking sense, but that's how we like. That's why we like sports.
Exactly. Not really. I want to win.
Nope.
But yeah. So we've seen 3 movies since last time we did a Actors POV episode. Man, we have The Wild Robot, Joker 2, and then we just got done watching Terrifier 3. What the hell was that?
That's crazy.
Yeah, three films back to back.
I'm just trying to think on where I ranked the 3, and it's crazy to think which one I think is my least favorite. I don't know. I don't actually know. I actually really want to get into one of these movies with you because my opinions kind of changed.
Joker 2. We'll get to that. I love that. Cool. Well, it sucks because I wish we would have reviewed these movies with it fresh on our mind, but it's okay. We're going to get to them anyway. Just for you guys. We're going to get this done. All right, so let's go and dive into A Wild Robot. We saw this film.
A Wild Robot.
When did we see it? 3 weeks ago. We were either going to watch this or what other movie were we? Was this one?
Megapolis.
Thank God we didn't see that because apparently it was absolute trash. And so yeah, we I'm glad we got away from that. Bombed in the box office. I feel bad because the creator put like $100 million of his own money into the film, and it just absolutely burnt down. So terrible stuff. But
he should have had Celsius on ice.
What flavor is that, dude?
It's the sparkling peach vibe.
Okay. That's
White
nice.
peach edition.
Oh.
I didn't have any in the fridge, and I just wanted to like a little starter kicker-upper.
There you go, baby. That's what we love to see. Cool. Yeah, so Wild Robot. We saw this instead of
Poor guy, though.
Megapolis, and poor dude. Feel bad. But at least the movie was visually cool.
Yeah.
So we watched Wild Robot, 2 animated movies in a row, because the last movie before that was Transformers 1. And we were like, do we do 2 animated movies in a row? And I'm glad we did this one. So Wild Robot's a story about this, by the way, spoiler review. Wild Robot's about this robot who crash lands on this island and basically has to learn how to live with all these animals and live in the wild. It's a wild robot. And
yeah, the big thing is that at first it's like it's enemies to the animals, you know what I mean? But then it accidentally is
integrated.
It's integrated because they attack the robot, and the robot falls on this duck's family, like this tree with the duck's family in it, and it killed the entire family but the one hatchling. And then so
you know who played Roz?
Who?
The girl from Quiet Place. Lupita.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah, that's crazy. What, dude? What a cast
right there,
bro. I
yeah.
know, man. This is kind of crazy.
Pedro Pascal.
Is this a kid from Black Phone? I don't know. Anyway, I think it is. Cool. So Wild Robot, like Brayden said, it's just about getting integrated into that, new world that this thing, this robot's not used to. And the robot is basically owned by this futuristic company. It's set in the future. That the robots are not really too much in the future. We have Elon Musk with robots now, dude. Kind of crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Nuts, man. Did you see the one interacting with the one guy at a party?
So this is what I heard, and I really hope this is true because that would make me feel more comfortable. that since they're like early models and they were kind of like stationary, that there was people in like cubicles that like that's why they didn't have a face. So that's like a camera that's like showing who's in front, and that's why the robots actually sounded like people because
Okay.
it's somebody behind it like actually talking and controlling the robot. Just because it's such an early prototype is what I heard.
Dude, honestly though, that's a really good system if you think about it, because you're not because
Give people jobs still.
that's what I'm saying. Because like that's what's scary about the robots, dude. Is they're saying it could babysit and it could take care of your kids. That takes away nannying jobs and babysitting jobs and all these babysitting companies and on all that and kid care companies. And then you got them doing lawn care. You know what I mean? That gets rid of all of landscaping. So like it's scary stuff, man. It works on plumbing. You know what I mean? No telling what the hell this thing's gonna do. There's a funny meme I gotta send you too. No, think about it. But that's really cool because, like you said, it gives people jobs. It sucks because you're sitting in a cubicle all day, but you're still communicating and doing actions through this robot. That's kind of dope. I like that.
Yeah, so that's what I heard.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
So I was just like, I hope that's what it is because they sounded a little too real for my liking.
I hope so.
I was a little freaked out by some of them.
Yeah. No, I know.
But,
Yeah, when he was talking to the one dude at the party, I was like, "This is crazy, dude." He like complimented his shoes. He's like, what did he say? The robot said, "I'm self-conscious." I was like, "What? What do you mean you're self-conscious, bro? Like you're a robot, dog." But yeah, no. So yeah, so anyway, so this is set in the future. Obviously, like I said, not maybe too far distant future. Where this robot is this big company and it runs this big city, and the robots do all these things for different people, and they have a task, and the robot's main goal, in this case, Roz, which is our robot. The robot has
basically to raise the hatchling.
Pretty much, right. So what you do is you go up to this robot and you tell them the task, and you say, "Hey, your task is this," and the robot will do whatever you say. And when the robot first landed, it was like, okay, I can't communicate with these animals. They're being mean to me. There's a really cool first 15 minutes of this movie.
Yeah, that was the cool part.
So dope. Where it's like running and you're just like going through trees, and the animation style in this movie is beautiful. I love it, man.
Yeah.
It's Big Hero 6 type animation.
Yeah.
But a little bit more comic booky. I don't know how to describe it.
100%.
I loved it. Because it's DreamWorks, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. I think it is DreamWorks. Or no. Yeah, it's DreamWorks because Transformers 1 was Illumination.
No, you're right. No, I remember it's DreamWorks because it was like one of the best DreamWorks rated films of all time.
Which is crazy. Because they did like How to Train Your Dragon and Shrek, right?
It beat How You Train Your
Trolls.
Dragon, or it's like right under How to Train Your Dragon.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that. That's really interesting. But yeah, that's weird because I feel like How to Train Your Dragon has had such a bigger like cultural impact. But I guess maybe long term it'll whatever.
Yeah, we'll see.
But yeah, so anyway,
I heard they're already making a sequel.
For what? Wild Robot?
Wild Robot. Yeah.
That's interesting. I don't know. I don't know how you would. I guess I do know how you would do it, but I don't know. I like this being a one-off. But anyway, so it's like, okay, I got to communicate with these animals because these animals are chasing me through these woods and wanting to fight me and cause harm and all this. So then it says I need to learn the language to communicate. It then sits there for like no telling how long, bro. Probably years, and it sits there and just in the forest and all these animals are coming near her. And
they make it seem like it definitely is like probably less than. It's probably less than a year because they still know, and but it goes through maybe it's like a year because it goes through like a whole season cycle. You know what I mean? But they still like know the robot and shit. But it's enough time for it to be like overgrown and stuff. So like, I'd probably say like 1 to 2 years.
That makes sense.
Is a good time frame.
Yeah. So the robot sits there, Roz, and Roz just takes in. It goes into learning mode, whatever, puts a thing in its head, and then it starts to learn the environment. Another reason why, when Roz tried to go back to the place with her little detection thing on her head, it was broken. She couldn't fix it. So that was a big thing. So that's why she couldn't go back to her home when she was running from the animals because they broke her. They messed her up bad, dude. Like
they straight up boxed her.
Literally,
shit when she landed. Like she did
took
nothing
her arms
wrong.
Off.
Yeah. Like I understand she couldn't understand the language yet, but she was like, "Yo, I'm sorry. I just had like an out of the box thought." So you know how she like learned their language, right, to understand them?
Yeah.
Was she speaking to them in their language at that point?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They're probably
Yeah.
like the robot comes down and this freaking robot's like, "Brr, brr,
Yeah.
brr."
Yeah, for real.
It's like, what the
Whoop,
hell?
whoop.
It was just such an out of the box thought, but I was like,
Yeah,
is she still
that's
talking
true.
English or like,
Nah,
what's
dude.
up?
Well,
Or I guess they understood the English. She just didn't understand them.
n no, there's no way. I feel like it definitely just started speaking animal. But then my question, if we're gonna go that route, why when the lady came to get Roz at the end,
They can communicate.
they can
That's what I was
communicate?
thinking. DreamWorks, you got a loophole
Yeah,
here,
loophole, dude. This movie's absolute ass, dude. Plot holes everywhere. Terrible, dude.
Man. They were.
Yeah, dude. Joker 2 is way better than this shit. All right. No, yeah, so anyway, so it starts to learn the language, starts speaking animal, whatever. And it starts to develop this really cool friendship with this bird because it kills the bird's family.
Yeah. Which
Roz,
it doesn't tell the bird that.
not at first.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. That happens later on. The bomb gets
Yeah.
dropped on what's the oh my god, what's the name?
It's such a little cute birdie name. They give him such a little tyke. Long neck.
Bright Bill.
Or no, Bright Bill.
Long neck's the old guy.
The older guy.
Yeah, Bill 90.
Yeah. Yeah. Yo, wait.
This dude said a cute little bird name, Long Neck.
Fuck you, man.
Yeah, yeah, it's Bright Bill. Yeah, Bright Bill is the bird's name.
Bro, wait, which one was Thorn again?
Thorn?
Yeah, that was Mark Hamill's character. I can't remember. I'm like I
thought
remember him, his voice so distinctly. He was definitely one of the animals.
the bear, right? No.
Yes. Or not
Was
the
it?
bear. I think that was someone else. Oh no.
Oh
no,
Thorn?
no.
Okay, it's actually pissing me off, dude. Hold up. What was Thorn the moose?
I don't know. Thorn is somebody.
Rod Robot Mark Hamill. I don't know, dude.
The bear. No, it's the bear.
It
You're
was
right.
the bear? Okay. Why is his name Thorn then? It's a terrible name for a bear.
What a shitty name.
Yeah, dude, call him like Harry or something. Anyway, dude, or Long Neck. But no. But no, so they
They were cooking with that one.
they were cooking. Dude, you could tell that man got a promotion. But so anyway, so it builds this relationship. It kills this by accident, not on purpose. This bird's family hits them, whatever.
And that's kind of what is like the whole point. Like she ends up like she doesn't have a task and she was like, well, what is my task? And she looks down at the bird and she was like, okay. Assess the situation. I was like, this is my task. Like making sure that the bird can eat, swim, and or not eat, swim, something and fly.
What? Yeah. Wasn't it also Pedro Pascal's character that came
The
up
fox.
and said, "This is your task"?
Yes,
I think audibly to her, if I'm not mistaken.
Because he was trying to eat it at first, and then she was like, I can't, like I gotta like da.
Or was it also the beaver at the beginning with the babies? Or the possum with the babies?
Mom.
And I think she was like, it's my task to take care of these babies. I don't know. I forgot.
You're right. She was like, it's your task as a mother to take care of him, da.
Right.
It was a combination of like because they're like the two kind of like reoccurring, I would say the most reoccurring of the animals. Like definitely Pedro Pascal's fox is one of the main three groups with Bright Bill.
Yeah.
But I would say outside of that, like Longneck and the beaver mom are like the two that show up the most.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a mix of them two, like you said, giving her like the audible task of like, because I think one of them said it first and then like it transitioned to more of the 3-part system. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like it was just like raise him and then it was like, we got to make sure he can, I can't remember. Maybe it was like just get stronger. It was like swim, strength and fly or something like that.
Something
Something
like
like
that.
that.
Yeah, yeah, and it was actually, this is where the movie gets really sentimental, man. And
Yeah.
it really tugs at the heartstrings because you just see this, you see this mom develop, right, in our main character, and it's just it's a beautiful story with Roz, and this, and it's really cool because she has like a partnership with the fox too. It's not just the character development between Roz and the Bill,
Bright
whatever,
Bill.
it's Bright Bill, but also the relationship between
The Bill.
Roz, Long Neck, and and the fox as well, and them kind of co-parenting, this this little duck, and it's a really really good story, man. And I love that dynamic with just those three alone. And then yeah, anything you want to expand on that?
I was gonna say it's interesting because you never like. It's not like at that point in the movie when they start to like all try and like train Bright Bill,
Hmm.
you don't really like expect this to be the movie you came in to see. Like I
Yeah,
don't know, at least for me, like I was watching it and like the whole thing with the family happened and I was just like, this is completely different from what I thought. But it's very sentimental because it's like you said, you're watching like it goes from like this movie where everyone's against her and she doesn't understand anything to like we slowly start to see her. If you want to take the bigger picture and like compare it to us as humans, like she's starting to like you know belong in the community and she's starting to like make that step into being a mother when she doesn't feel prepared, when she doesn't feel ready. I love the way that they show her like gain consciousness of her emotions
hmm,
throughout the movie. You know what I mean? And like, everyone starts to depend on her in the sense where they're like, "Oh, I'm sad she's asleep too," because at the end of the night she's only like solar powered because her thing was broken.
yeah,
And like, and we'll get to this point probably next when she saves the entire community.
yeah,
But it's like I like that. I like that with them because even the fox, like Pedro Pascal's character, was a bad guy. He was just trying to eat the little Bright Bill at first, and
yeah,
then he ends up just like by the end of it, he sticks up for her the most, and like be going from like the most hated person in the community, he becomes one of the most beloved because
yeah,
like he's just like I don't know, because Raj just is that person. You know what I mean?
yeah,
And so they do a very good job of making it like inclusive. Like they make her and Bright Bill's relationship, mother and son, great. They make their friendship great. They make the community relationship expand. It's a very well done. Like nothing feels left out and everything feels supported.
yeah. No, I
But
agree. Yeah, it's the pace. Kind of go back to your original thought and start with that little bit there was, it was a very different movie, and I agreed. Like when we first started watching it, I was like, okay, so we're just gonna go through the life of a robot in the woods, like what's happening here? But then, like you said, that Pedro Pascal was in it, so I'm like, what the hell, what's going on? And then
yeah,
eventually the fox comes in, and there's like a whole dynamic there. So like you said, very different movie than what I expected, but not in a bad way. Like it wasn't bad. It was just very different. It took me a minute to kind of get used to that. And I know Brayden probably felt the same. But yeah. So the reason that they're training this bird Bright Bill is because they have a big migration, right? And he is a lot smaller than normal. He's like the
he's
odd
like the
one
run.
out. He's the exactly. So usually the Ruts, they're a little smaller. Not as developed, and that's what happened. Obviously, he didn't probably get the
They
nutrients he needed
outcasted
either.
him. They were like, he's not
Exactly.
supposed to fly.
Exactly.
But he
So
knew
fly,
it.
baby.
He
Fly,
can
eagle,
fucking
fly.
do it.
But no. So he has to kind of learn how to adapt with that. That whole moment's really really great with trying to get him to migrate. My question is, did the winter happen before the migration or after? That happened before, correct?
No, they do it for the winter.
You're right. Okay, so yeah. So exactly, because the birds migrate outside of winter because they can't hibernate. So they're getting ready for that. Whatever. The best part of this movie for me, that was probably the most like emotional and like
When she stayed.
heart touching. Yes, when she runs with them and gets them going, and then
Because this is just after the big fight.
yes, they get in a
This
fight.
is just
Yeah,
after it was revealed that she killed his
right.
parents and that,
He
he
actually
doesn't
thought a
feel
robot
like
was his mom.
yeah, yeah. He has like all in all, basically they like everyone is basically for Roz now, but because of all of the shit that's happened to her and all the backlash she has gotten, everyone's like still kind of giving her shit. They kind of reveal to him that she killed his parents, and then it kind of becomes like this stressful moment.
Mhm.
And then it puts them from like, it's so weird how you can really feel it. It goes from like mother to son to like, I don't know if I can trust you anymore.
Yeah.
Like, it's weird how you can feel it in the air, but
Yeah.
like it shifts so quickly.
And Ra is still trying to figure out her emotions. It's a very
Yeah,
interesting dynamic because she doesn't know how to feel about it. You know what I'm saying? And that was really
he's
interesting
a
too.
robot.
Exactly. Doesn't know how to deal with the situation. You know what I mean? I just thought that was a very, very interesting dynamic. So I'm with you there.
Because then you have everyone leave. Like, he flies away. Like, she runs away, chases after them. Like, is by herself. The fox goes alone. All the
That,
animals try to hibernate.
that's the
It
first
felt
ever
like a
time.
breakup. You know what I mean? Of
Yes.
everybody.
Literally, I feel like I was watching The Notebook. But I no the moment where she's running with Bright Bill and that was the first time that we've seen Roz's emotions come out. You know what I'm saying? That was the
Yeah.
first time. Like we saw her obviously have different emotions and come
She
to
was
tune with
like
them.
overstimulated for the first time.
Exactly. She was actually getting emotional, and I loved that moment when she goes by the trees and like holds onto the tree and reaches out for Bright Bill. It was just such like a mother to daughter, parent to kid. Like, you're in college now, you're an adult. There you go do your own thing. And it just felt like it was a very they did a really good job with that scene, the music in the background, the visuals, and you could just see. And then it did a close up on Roz's eyes, and Roz's eyes didn't really change, but you could just see it almost in the robot's face. That pain, that hurt, but the love at the same time.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
was
it's weird.
very interesting. I
It
loved it.
felt unrobotic.
Yeah, literally for the first time in the film, and that for me was the height of this movie. That for me was the best part of this film. Incredible stuff. It felt the most grounded and felt like there was a actual like. There's a lot of themes in this movie, but that theme just hit me the hardest. It's what I connected with the most, and I thought that was, especially since we're at that age in our lives, right? Where
Yeah,
we're kind of in that moment of our parents are like, here you go,
migration.
there you
Yeah.
go, figure it out, you know?
No, I agree. Because for me it was that, and I really do like the community part where like everyone was hibernating.
Yeah, we'll get to that. Yeah.
Roz ends up going out because that's what ended up happening next. She ends up like hiding out, and like everyone thinks she's gone, and then she ends up finding Pedro Pascal's character, and he's like, Roz, what are you doing here? And I think he just went to like their old house just to be there, like it was cold.
Yeah.
And then so they built a fire and then decided to save everybody because it was way too cold. So Roz runs around the entire thing. She's like smoking. Her things are glitching. Like she's fucked up.
She
She's been
lost a
doing
foot
this.
along the way as well.
Yeah, yeah. You can clearly see she's been doing this for hours. She saved every animal in the forest and brought them all together. And they have this come together moment where like, Pedro Pascal's character steps up and like Fox is like, I know you guys hate me. But like you see what she did. We don't all have to like each other, but in here, I really like that moment. It was like the in here thing. Like outside of here, you can do whatever you want. You're your own person, but in here, you respect this space. And I liked how everyone was like, you're right. And they were like, it's for her. Like, for her, she did this. Respect this space. And like the bear was the first guy. He was like, I promise I won't hurt anyone. He cuddled up with someone immediately. And it's like, I think that's a beautiful moment because that's like a lot of groups, even today, you know what I mean? Regardless of if it's like something like, just something for fun, if you're fighting like an addiction or something like that. Like there's a lot of time where like people, you see an acting class, you'll go in acting class and you'll see people and you're like, wow, that person's an actor. Like they don't look like an actor. You know what I mean? Or something like that.
Right.
And then like, but like when you walk out of there, they're a completely different person. But when they come in, you drop that guard. For me, it was just so relatable. And I just really like that like humanity moment. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that scene was super cool. But the scene I was really talking about is like the next one, where she basically like, she feels outcasted finally, tries to leave.
One question though.
Yeah.
When it comes to the hibernation thing, do they just go right back to killing each other?
I think at that point,
I mean,
at that
because
point,
you got to survive. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you got to kill. You got to start going after your best bud that you made. That bear
You
that
know
was
what I
hugging.
mean?
You know what it was? The bear was checking the distance. He was ready to strike, dude. He was doing a little
Yeah,
Alex
you're right.
Pereira, little hop.
as soon as they walk out, he's just sitting outside the door like,
Yeah, it's like, hey, come give me a hug, dude. Just fucking eats him.
no,
Just
yeah.
takes a bite.
I think in most societies, yes, but I think maybe this force they all decided to be friends. Bear went
what, eat
vegetarian.
leaves? Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Anyways, good.
Yeah, no, my biggest point though is I really like that moment, but I like the scene after. I like where she basically like felt like this part was actually before where she saved everybody, but where she went to the top, she signaled the radio thing, and that ends up coming back. I really like when they tried to take her back. They're like, "You're not meant to be here. Like, you know what I mean? You have to come with us." And she's like, "I'm not coming with you." And then she turns into like the different animals when she's with the animals come together to save her, and she like, at some point is swinging, and some point she's like running like a deer, and some point she's
Yeah.
swimming. And I really like that moment because it was just like it was almost like a rejection to what she was like destined for. You know what I mean? It was like I'm gonna write my own destiny. I'm gonna be
Right.
where I want to be type thing. And
Create
like
your own path.
it was like a meaningful moment. Like, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
she fought for all this for so long and she didn't give up, you know?
Right.
So,
No,
but yeah, I don't know.
really...
I talked a bit about a big chunk there. If you have anything to expand on.
No, yeah, you hit it on the head. I think it's the theme is definitely about creating your own destiny, like you said, and creating your own path. And
Yeah.
just because society wants you to be a certain way doesn't mean you have to be that way. You know what I mean? Be
Yeah.
yourself. And I think in a
Yeah.
time nowadays where we want to fit into groups and we feel like we have to fit into a group, and really you could just be yourself. I think it's a very important message. And I think that it was done
This movie
very, very
had
well.
so many messages, which is crazy, but
Yeah.
it definitely had like five different messages in this
A
film.
lot of themes, a lot of symbolism, a lot of
Yeah.
messages. Very well done. It was a really fun film, man. It was a really fun film. So after that, eventually the company's like, okay, bet you're gonna run from us. We'll be right back. They come back, dude, and they start just blowing stuff up, dude. They start dropping
Horrible.
bombs, throwing grenades, dude. It's like there's a lot going on right now, And eventually, she's like, all right, you know what? Just to save these people, I'll go back.
I'm gonna
go back. And there's a really, really good
What?
moment when she goes back and she starts working again for these people as a robot, and Bright Bill comes down and he's doing the migration again, and he sees Roz there. And that moment was really, really.
And this
special.
time he knows it's Roz, not when Long Neck caught a fucking shot to the head.
Ate that guy. Oh yeah, dude. Long Neck dies, bro. R.I.P. Long Neck.
Yeah.
Dude got blasted, bro. Dude got got a longer neck, bro.
Oh shit, Long Neck died. R.I.P.
Yeah, dude. R.I.P. Long Neck, bro. That was
Yeah,
a sad
sorry about
moment.
that spoiler, guys.
Yeah, we didn't mean to drop that bomb on you, dude.
Yeah, their first migration. It was basically like a Tom Brady moment,
Sure.
The quarterback took a tumble and little Bright Bill Brady stepped up and led the pocket, and he led the migration.
Yep.
But the career was over for Long Bill.
And then no one remembers
or Long Neck.
No one remembers Long Neck at all.
Yeah,
you know
that guy.
No.
Yeah.
No one remembers him.
But anyways.
But no. So yeah, R.I.P. Long Neck, dude.
R.I.P. Long Neck.
But yeah, so this is the second time around for the migration, and they technically apparently got rid of Boz's memory. Remember, they rebooted her and all that stuff, but there's still part of, because that's the thing too. There's that moment when before she leaves, when Bright Bill's like, dude, Roz, they're gonna get rid of your memory. You know what I mean? You're not gonna remember me. And she was like, you will always be a part of me, whatever. And even though they did get rid of her memory, you could see when she sees Bright Bill, there's a part in her that's like, that's my kid.
That's the humanity.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It was a beautiful moment.
It's a beautiful film.
Yes, sir. Yeah. Anything else you want to add on to it?
No, I think that's pretty much it. That's it on the head, I think.
All right. Well, R.I.P. Long Neck. Let's do our reviews, our rankings. Or sorry, like
Long Neck!
My
boy.
R.I.P. that man. Should I go first?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, you should.
Now we're doing 3 in a row, so at least we'll remember what the order is.
Yeah.
I don't know. This movie wasn't bad. It's not my type of film. You know what I'm saying? It's not my favorite, but there's really nothing wrong with it except all the plot holes. So I'll probably give this movie. It was really good. I liked it, but I feel like they could have. I feel like the thing that got me to the one negative is when you have a bright spot and a peak, like when Bright Bill goes away for the first time, and that moment that I talked about, that was, probably the most emotional part for me, is then you're at the all-time high, so the rest of the movie is kind of below that, if that makes sense. You know what I'm saying? And that's why you should then have something at the end that's even more impactful, and there was just nothing as impactful as that moment, so the rest of the movie just doesn't seem as great for me as that moment. So I'll give this movie, this is kind of a low ranking, but it's not really anything against it, it's just for my type of what I want to see. I'm going to go 8 out of 10.
I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. A solid 9 out of 10.
Yes, sir. I was flirting with 8.5, but.
Well, it's funny because, like, what you described is, like, I think maybe how I felt, because I did like that later part better.
Okay.
So I think for me, like, I didn't think of it that way until you just said it. That was perfectly said. Like, I like that. I was able to find, I guess, enough relevancy with that last part, like I did with that part, that made me feel, Well, but I like that. I didn't even think of that. That is a really good point.
Well, that's how films work, right? The climax, the most crazy part is the climax of a film, and usually the climax happens, kind of toward the end, but then that resolution is what makes it is like usually a better moment than the climax. For me, the climax just kind of was a better moment.
Well, I was gonna say, because that's what I was saying, I didn't even think about, like, the climax in this movie was like earlier than I feel like it normally would be. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yep.
That's like what I find interesting.
Yeah. I agree. Maybe I don't know. Maybe we're misreading the climax. Maybe it is a little bit later. I don't know. But I know that for like what we're saying is that just kind of felt like the moment for me, for Raza's character of finding her emotions, right? And that's why that moment was so important for me. But yeah, so that makes sense though. So if you feel like if they feel like they did have a bigger moment at the end, then that just makes total sense on why that ending was more impactful for you. It wasn't that way for me, but yeah, really fun film. 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10. You guys let us know your ranking down below.
Go freaking watch it.
Go watch it, baby. You guys know what's popping. Go check it out. Really, really fun film that definitely deserves attention, baby.
Attention.
Joker 2. Let's get it, baby. We went and watched Joker 2.
We're about to review an ass movie. I'm just kidding.
2 weeks ago, we went and watched Joker 2 with a friend of ours, and it was a lot of fun, man. This movie, I remember when Joker 1 came out, I was filming season 1 of Sweet Magnolias, and everyone was talking about it on set, and I was like, you know what? I need to go watch this thing. I did. Loved it. Thought it was really good. Really, it's Taxi Driver on steroids, but it's really fun. They did a sequel. I remember when they first announced the sequel. They didn't need to do a sequel. They did not. They should have just left it alone. But whatever.
Yeah.
Because the symbolism at the end of Joker 1, when he's standing on the car, amazing.
Bro,
amazing.
It's funny you say that, and I just make this small ass point. I'm going to give my opinion now, and I'm going to unravel everything. This movie, standalone, in my opinion, is a good movie. This movie, with the first movie, is freaking horrible.
Yeah.
It completely it literally strips away everything they built in the first movie. If you take it by itself, it's actually a pretty good movie. In my opinion. You look at it as a whole, that's how I feel. I'm like, yeah. It's like, I'm glad you said that, because that is like the big thing that sits on my shoulders with this film. Yeah. Is it just like, it's like, why would you... The idea, I said I was going to make this quick, I'm sorry. The idea that, like, the way that they wanted to go about it, like the whole passing of the torch idea, kind of, I can understand that. But the way they went about it, and I think we said that in the moment, was just poorly executed, because it just doesn't make sense to what his character, to what Arthur Fleck was in the first movie.
Right.
What changed?
Yeah. No,
what changed?
I agree. Because now he doesn't want anything to do with the Joker persona. We'll get into all that.
Yeah, sorry.
No, no, yeah, you're good. You're
I'm
good.
jumping ahead, boys.
That's a good point though. That's a really good point, and I think I've appreciated this movie a little bit more too as I've sat down with it. I really haven't watched any YouTube videos on it, but I will say this: I think that I had a good conversation with our friend that we watched it with, and she said that yeah, it definitely is a movie about manipulation, and and that's pretty much it. It's literally about manipulation, which is a very, very interesting thing. And knowing your worth, I think, is another great theme in this film.
Yo, Logan.
Huh?
Sorry, don't move your head to the left, the other way. See the sweet magnolias between the chair? All I could think, I was like, this guy's gonna promote it. Good promo, pal.
Yo, I placed that shit right there.
That
Dude,
was
the
like
whole
perfect
thing,
placement.
If you guys look on the screen, actually, the release date for season 4 is there somewhere. No, that is really funny. It's perfect.
Yeah, I just...
But but yeah. So, I think those are probably two really big themes in this film.
yeah.
I really wish we would have reviewed this movie the week of, but we got hit by a hurricane because they.
Yeah, I
think it
feel
was a
like
hurricane.
the wild robot was like boo boo on me, like boo boo on us type thing, but like the hurricane that kind of just screwed us, like
Yeah.
genuinely. That just made shit really difficult to do.
Yeah, no, that was an absolute joke. Because we got hit pretty hard here, but
It's
yeah,
an absolute joke.
yeah, no, it's an absolute joke, dude. But we're chilling though. We survived. We lived. I flew a kite. It was fun. But yeah. So Joker 2. This is a story that picks up what, like a year, 2 years,
2 years.
2 years after the events of Joker 1, and I hate this because it just, you throw everything in the first movie away with this, but now he's in jail. And the point of the first Joker movie, which I loved,
Like,
is,
where did that happen?
yeah,
And then
like,
they do this stupid little short at the beginning to explain it, and it's cool, but like, why?
yeah,
Why?
yeah.
Sorry, that's all I wanted to say.
No, you're right. What made the first Joker movie so fun was that cult mentality. They're taking over the city. It's craziness. Stuff's on fire. Stuff's blowing up. And then it's just like, oh, then he gets thrown in jail. Like, come on, man. Like, I don't know. I hated that so much. But anyway, so he's in jail now. And, you know, I don't even know where to go from here. He meets Harley Quinn, played by Lady Gaga, and they have a really interesting dynamic. Also, he's about to start going to court for the stuff that happened 2 years prior.
Yeah, basically everything's catching up with him. He's been in jail. Like you said, he's going to trial for everything. That's kind of all it is so far, you know what I mean? And then he meets Harley. Harley kind of like makes the whole gesture. She puts the gun to her head and does this to kind of like get his attention.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I have. Here's my opinion on the movie. This is what bothers me about this movie. The movie opened. I was kind of confused. You get through the movie. I was like, meh. I really like the second/third act. Like that middle endish point is really good for me. It's just really the last like 20 minutes that pisses me off, or 15 that really pissed me off.
Yeah.
Everything in that chunk right before, though, I thought they were going in a great direction. Like, I think from the moment the guilty thing happened and the thing exploded in the car, I was vibing. I was like, this is great. We're going to see some crazy uprise, upbringing thingy.
Yeah.
And then it was the moment I think Buddy got out of the car and started sprinting away, and I was like, but that's way ahead. Basically, what I like about this movie is, I guess starting off, you have the two important people in Arthur's life, which is the lawyer, and then Harley comes into play. The thing about, at least at this point in the movie, the lawyer recognizes that Arthur Fleck is sick in the head. And I think that is the overall looming point of this movie. When you look at Joker, Joker is the clown prince of crime, right? Joker is insane. Arthur Fleck is like mentally ill. You know what I mean? And so the thing with this movie is the lawyer sees that he's mentally ill. When they're on trial, you could even argue the fact that they were probably winning the trial. with his lawyer, they were probably winning his case that he was mentally sick, that the Joker and Arthur Fleck were two different people, and that he was just going through like a split personality disorder.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I think they do a really great job of proving the point that I think they prove the point very well that there was never a split person. Arthur Fleck was Arthur Fleck. He did all of what he did. You know what I mean? I think Joker's just a persona he came up with, and that is exactly what they were pushing for. Well, you have Harley Quinn, which I think is one of the greatest elements of this movie.
Yes.
Who fuels him as the Joker. Like, she likes the idea of the Joker. She wants to be with the Joker. And she's telling him that the Joker is, him, that he is the Joker, and that it is, it is this persona that he can be and that he should be and that he is. And she kind of persuades him to get rid of the lawyer as they're doing well in the case. So, you have Arthur falling in love with Harley Quinn because she's, everything that he wants in this fantasy land, which they do a very good job of, like the singing. I know that, I don't know. I think we kind of, I don't know how you felt, at least. I didn't mind the singing. I thought I was going to hate it a lot more than I did. But do I think it was needed? No, but I like the way, I can understand the representation they were going with. You know what I mean? Like, that's his mind. That's his fantasy delusion.
Right. That's his dreams. And that makes sense on why he's doing all that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I at first I hated it, but yeah, looking back on it, it wasn't bad. I don't feel like it really added a lot.
Yes.
I feel like it was just a waste of time when you could have had more story going on with the manipulation story and manipulation theme there. But yeah, I just, it didn't really add anything for me.
No, yeah. I mean, I completely agree. So yeah, man, I think what's interesting about the movie though is, like, at the beginning of the movie, the prison guards are like, Arthur, tell us a joke, which is the guy from Banshee of Inisherin, or
Yeah.
The older gentleman. I can't remember his name. But, they have him, they're asking him to tell a joke. Some of the guards want to see Arthur tell a joke. He's not really doing it. This is before he meets Harley. He meets Harley. Harley kind of changes, like, it's weird because it's like Logan was saying, at the end of the first movie when he's on top of the truck, they've kind of completely smashed that for his character. At the beginning of this movie, he is not the Joker anymore. He is just Arthur Fleck, a little shell of what Arthur Fleck was.
Yeah.
Harley Quinn is the only reason that the Joker idea even gets ignited in his brain again. You could fathomably say that he was very good friends with the guards. People around the prison liked him.
Right.
And that he probably would have won his case.
Yeah.
Harley comes into the picture just to stir shit up. We find out that over the course of the film, as she starts to persuade him, that the lawyer reveals that she's not actually an ill patient, that she checked herself in, that she's, the daughter of a rich doctor. And, she has a PhD. So, he has a conversation with Harley, and it's almost weird how, like, honest she is right away. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, she's like, yeah, that's true. Yeah, I lied. Yeah, I did this. And it's like, what the fuck? You know what I mean?
Mm.
You start to see the manipulation a little bit, and you're like, well, can we trust her?
Right.
You know what I mean? She's supposed to be the one that he's in love with. Can we even trust this girl?
Yeah. They did a really good job with that, by the way, of putting the audience in the same shoes as Arthur, of being like, is this manipulation? Like, that's how manipulation is in real life. Sometimes you can catch it, sometimes you can't. Some people are really good mass manipulators, some people aren't. And I think that this movie did a really good job of putting you in that position of being, like, really perplexed on, is she legit? Is she not? Can we trust her? Can we not? And they did a really good. This whole movie's really from Arthur's POV, and I think that they did a really good job of representing a lot of that with the shots, with the little cutscenes to his dreams of Harley, to the manipulation aspect of it, which is the overall theme, is really interesting.
No, I agree. I completely agree with that. Actually, I like the idea that it, like you said, it is very a POV perspective, because the first one was, but it's POV. not the. Sorry, subscribe. It's not like, go to the website. I'll kill you. What? What? Oh my god. No, yeah, no.
Joker.
But... Joker. Holy shit. Long neck. Fat Bill, move. No,
Boom.
boom. But yeah, man, like I just, you basically what I like at this point is I'm kind of skimming over stuff, but I think it's more about the intricacy than the story because the story in a way, and it's not a negative for me because it didn't feel bad, but it is sort of repetitive in the sense that we are pretty much contained in the same environment. We are going through the same it's a case trial. Most of the movie is him in the trial room or in jail. Like he's not doing very much else or in a dream phase. It is kind of the same thing. It's not in a bad way, like I said. Um, but yeah, like as you get along, like I just, what ends up happening is I think Arthur's about to win his case. Harley and him are still as good as ever. If anything, they have the conversation. He feels better about her than ever. He decides that he needs to fire his lawyer. Harley's convinced him that she's making him look stupid, that she's not doing the best of his interests, and he fires his lawyer. His lawyer is like pleading with him not to do that.
And then she disappears.
And she disappears, which frustrates me. So at this point in the movie, though, I think this is where they really start to implement the big picture, the big message. You see that the only person that actually genuinely, truly cared about him was his lawyer. At the end of this movie, when you look at the people who genuinely cared about him, it was his lawyer.
Cared about
nobody
Arthur.
else.
Yeah.
Arthur. But the funniest thing is when he decides to fire his lawyer, she's distraught, and everyone in the audience is freaking going crazy. Like all the Joker supporters like love it. They want to see Joker take over. You know what I mean? Harley's happy, and you start to see that flip of Arthur dipping back into the Joker. And as we progress, like his lawyer tries to, one more time to get with him, and he's like, "No, I'm not doing it." And Harley's like, "Oh, I freaking love it. Let's do it." Da da da. And after all the things he said, he ends up getting brought back to the prison. That's where like the officers, beat him up, and they sexually abuse him. And
Which,
they
by the
beat
way,
him.
Harvey Dent is the prosecutor, which is really cool.
Oh yeah, huge part. And that was a big thing they touched on, and specifically the one where he fired the lawyer. They talk about his like sexual assault from his mother and like the abuse he got from his parents when he was younger. And Harvey Dent, really made a good case there. And then his lawyer made the even better rebuttal. So you're kind of sitting there and you're like, damn, Harvey's doing so good, but maybe Arthur's going to win the case.
Yeah.
They screw it up. And then, like I said, this part was, I think, really weird for all of us because, like, you can assume what happened, but you didn't want to assume what happened. But, like, after Arthur was talking crap about the guards, they beat him up, and then they sexually assaulted him in the prison.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Like, that's what they,
Yeah.
Yeah. So he kind of gets a taste of his own medicine, and it's crazy because, you know what I mean? Like that's what they do, bro.
Yeah.
The thing that gets me is like it completely shells him out. Like that's where you see Joker completely like disengage from Arthur Fleck. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That was a big moment.
I don't know. Do you have an opinion on that?
On that moment in particular?
Yeah. Like, why do you think it affected him so greatly? Because he's been beat up.
Because
but like, why did that cause him like completely drop the mantle? You think?
Well, I think it was just also the fact that no one was there for him. The one person that did care for him, I think he was starting to realize the manipulation.
No,
and I think that,
and they killed the only other guy that supported him in the jail.
Exactly. So I think right. What's his name? So yeah, I think that I think it was just the fact they had no one there for him that was starting to hit him a little bit, and something that happened in his childhood came back. It was more of that trauma, right? And I think that that's what really heavily affected him to kind of find more out about himself, and then he eventually just went full, disengaged from that aspect.
Fair. Yeah, no, that was a tough moment.
That was
like, because I mean, Arthur's fucked up, but like, you watch the movie and you're like, he's sick. He's not a bad person. You know what I mean?
Right. He's just mentally right. And the lawyer did a really good job of bringing that to life, which is why I love that character. But looking back on it, it's like I realized why she was gone. I totally get it. She was gone so that moment could happen. That realization of nobody's there for you, the only person that did care for you, is gone because of Harley Quinn, who was manipulating you, which shows how bad manipulation can ruin your life. And it was a very, very interesting. So it works. It makes sense on why it happened, and I get it. But I guess the lawyer did do her job of showing that human side of Arthur.
Yeah,
I guess she did her job.
Yeah, I think I did skip the one part because he does end up because I think he represents himself before he gets like the whole rape
Yes.
thing happens to him.
Yes, he
He
does. Yeah.
represents himself during
As
one
the
case.
Joker.
Yeah, as the
Yeah.
Joker, doing all these weird accents and weird voices, and prosecuting the midget from the first movie and
Yeah.
his old neighbor.
Hmm.
And funny enough, he does a lot of stupid shit that just makes no sense. But when he does things and asks questions that make sense, it kind of makes sense. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you're kind of sitting there, you're like, wow, okay, well, maybe he's got a point. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? When he was talking like the midget, he was like, well, did you think I was doing this? And he was like, you were never like that. And he was like, so you think I was sick? Like, he was making good points.
Yeah.
Well, after all that, like we said, he goes in with the guards, gets a little screwed up, and then he comes in the next day as Arthur Fleck, completely guard dropped. He takes the stool, walks right up to the jury, and he basically just comes clean. He says, I'm Arthur Fleck. I'm not the Joker. I willingly did all of those crimes. I know what I'm doing, and I'm sorry. And you just like the energy in the room drops because you're just like, you feel bad for the man. You're like, holy shit, he is sick.
Hmm.
Harley, everyone in the room just gets up. They all look at him so pissed off and just leave him. You just watch them just leave him behind. And it's like, what the hell? Like he loses all of his following just from being himself.
Right. Right.
And then so basically the point
Another theme.
another theme, yeah. Because really after that, he goes back to the prison. I mean, I think that's just then when they do his booking. You know what I mean? They try to see if he's guilty, not guilty. The jury took 15 minutes, they said, or like 20 minutes. It was super quick. They came out, and as they're announcing his guilty verdict, the place explodes. Boom.
Yeah.
A car bomb goes off outside. And then Arthur makes his way outside and is picked up by some hooligans. Some freaking hooligans.
And then about 5 minutes down the road, gets out and runs.
Yeah, I know. You can tell the people about that. I know that pissed both of us off.
Yeah. I don't get that. It's why you're safe, you're hidden, no one knows where you are, and you have supporters and all that, and then you get out and run.
And I know they were talking about him, like they're like he's the one that's gonna save us. Like
Well,
they were
also
talking
too,
a lot about him in the car, but
and we're talking heavily about the Joker, which at this point he wanted to
step away
from. And so I think that was a symbolism of he was running away from that persona by physically running away from the car.
Yes,
that's my guess. Looking back on it, it's
good
probably
symbolism, but
it's good. It felt very. Now that I look back on it, it makes sense.
After just getting guilty verdict and a car bomb going off and escaping, I wouldn't. It just didn't. Maybe if he got to somewhere safe and he was like running somewhere in the woods or something.
Right. And what I don't understand is if he. Right. So I think that's what it was. Is he wanted to run away from the Joker? But then my question is, you brought up a really good point. If he got out and ran away anyway from the cops, why not just stay in the car, get somewhere safe, and then run away? So you're right. You're right. That is a good point. But I think it was symbolism. So like that seems not as bad as I initially felt watching it. Now that is in my mind, but
yeah,
I don't know.
Still, it just seemed a little discourse for like what was going on.
Yeah.
Because all that happens is he runs up the road. He runs back to his apartment to find Harley sitting outside.
Mm-hmm.
And so actually, this is a really cool point, right? I wanted to make this point. Because I will admit, this was a YouTube video I watched that gave me this theory.
Okay.
So we skipped. Well, it's not a very big scene, so I understand why we didn't really speak on it. But Harley, right before the bomb goes off, points a gun to her head, right? They kind of show a clip after she leaves, after the Joker kind of like drops a persona, that she goes and puts a gun to her head. What I heard is that some people think that she shot herself and that was just like an imagination of Harley after that, and that's why she looked different, and that's why she like left. It was kind of like a walking away moment. In my opinion, I don't think she shot herself. It just doesn't make sense if they're going to continue the story. And I don't think she'll play Harley again, but like it just wouldn't make sense for, you know what I'm saying?
I don't think she shot herself.
And I think it was more of just representation again.
Was right because
Killing
this was in the
where
courtroom.
he was killing Joker, she's killing Harley Quinzel, and she's
Yeah,
becoming Harley
yeah,
Quinn.
that makes sense. That makes
That's what
sense.
I felt.
That
You
makes
know what
more
I mean?
sense. Yeah, that I agree. I agree.
And that's why the
I
persona she looked different. And
yeah. I'm told she's good. Right. She talks about how she put on this persona for the Joker. Joker's not there anymore. She has no reason to be that persona anymore. You know what I mean?
yeah,
So yeah, that makes total sense. Yeah, the saying that she actually killed, that's just stupid. I
yeah,
don't
I know,
agree with that
right?
at all. Yeah, that's dumb. So yeah,
It's
it
a
was
game theory.
exactly. It was her getting rid of that persona because Joker's persona is gone. That's what it is. That's the reason she's
Yeah,
there in the first place. She indicted herself. So she's not got to be that. She doesn't have to be there anymore because her purpose was to get to know the Joker, bring the Joker back because she saw the chaos. She loved the chaos. She loves that stuff. She's messed up in the head, and that was her goal. Well, there's no reason. There's no goal to go after anymore. So why be this persona when you could just be yourself?
exactly.
So yeah, that makes sense. That theory's stupid.
Yeah. So yeah, but all he does is end up running back to the house, and she's sitting there waiting for him, and she basically says, you know, I'm leaving. You
Yeah.
know, you're not the Joker. I wanted to be with the Joker. I never wanted to be with
Which
you. And
straight up honest, bro. She did not care.
she did not care. She was completely honest. And it's kind of heartbreaking because you sit there and you're like, you feel for him because that's all that he had. And like, that's where the big turning point is, where it was like the lawyer was right. Like, everyone abandoned him when he didn't want to be the Joker. And, you know, she ends up leaving him, and the cops pull up behind him and they find him and they bring him back to the jail. And, you know, you're just kind of left here sitting like, damn, bro. Like, you know, she ends up telling him, he's like, I thought you were pregnant, like our child, which was, it goes back to the point. She was lying about that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
She just said that she was. And so, yeah, she ends up abandoning him, leaves, and then he gets arrested and returns to the jail.
Yep.
So this is the most interesting part for me. So at the end, at this point, we know he's guilty. Da da da. He's in the jail. Well, he's coming out. He's just sitting there the next day, and the main guard, he's like, Arthur, you got a visitor. Well, he walks out. It was so crazy because in the moment I'm like, oh yeah, it's the lawyer. Maybe it's Harley again. Who's it gonna be? Maybe it's Bruce Wayne from the first movie or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like da da da. He walks out, and another inmate is like, Arthur, can I tell you a joke quick? And he's like, sure. Well, our Banshee guard continues to walk away and is out of frame. It's come to my attention that this was all set up. This was all completely set up. There was no person that ever came to visit him.
Yep.
There's no reason that the guards should have ever left him alone that long.
Yep.
It makes complete sense. It was a setup.
Yep.
Guard walks away, leaves these two together. And then I actually love this part. I hate this part, but in retrospect, I love the joke of it, the line, because it's symbolism. And he basically talks about how there's like a psychopath and a comedian walk into a bar, and, you know, or a clown walk into a bar,
Yeah.
and how he looks up to him. And, you know, psychopath asks clown if he could buy him a drink, and he says you can get him whatever you want, and he says, I'll give you exactly what you fucking deserve. And then ends up stabbing Arthur a few times in the stomach with a shank, and we kind of just watch Arthur fall, go into like a thing, and I'll get to that. But this is the one I'm thinking of, like the big point I'm getting at. This is exactly what he said to Murray when he killed Murray. And it's the exact same situation. A psychopath with a clown, at this point being Murray being the clown, you know, Arthur being the psychopath at the time, and now it's flipped. You know, Arthur, who looked up to his greatest icon, Murray, was pissed, and because he fell short of this promise, and he ends up, you know, killing Murray. And it's the same way. The psychopath looked up to Arthur as the Joker, and for leaving the Joker mantle behind, he gave him exactly what he deserved, ends up killing him. And we see this scene of Harley and Joker as he kind of just like, it's the final scene, you know, where he just loses his, like, I don't know. He just basically, it's that like last moment of like goodbye for him. It's like his show is ending. Harley's leaving. It's that breakup moment where she like points the gun at him. He's like, from earlier where she pointed the gun at him earlier and shot him, and now it's coming to fruition that he's, you know. But yeah, it ends up he falls over and he dies, and that's pretty much the end of the movie. Arthur Flex dies, and the guy that killed him ends up stabbing a smile into his face. And the thing with that imagery is funny because the timeline, it wouldn't make sense that it's Heath Ledger, like Heath Ledger's Joker. but it's definitely symbolism to Heath Ledger's Joker. You
Oh
know what I mean?
yeah, 100%. Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. I don't. I don't know. I don't know Joker comics enough to speak on this. I know that the original Joker comic, I believe, had the Jack Nicholson approach. Falls into acid, whatever, you know what I mean? Messes him up.
I was gonna say that's why, like, I always have the big point. You've heard me say this with Joker 1. You can name it Psycho, you can name it Killer, you can name it anything.
Yeah.
This Joker story. So that's the big point that everyone's getting at. When they made this movie, it doesn't say Joker the origin story. It's
Right.
Joker and origin story. He's not called the Joker.
Right.
It's called Joker because he's a Joker. The whole point is Arthur Fleck was never originally ever supposed to be the Joker.
Yeah.
He's just basically what inspired the idea for the Joker.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And the problem for me, and I think it's the same problem for you, and that's why I keep going back to like the standalone movie thing. You look at the first movie and you look at this movie, and I think they're both very honestly, the second one's not nearly as good as the first, but I actually do think the second one's pretty good. When you look at everything that the first movie built, though, I understand that you weren't making a Joker origin story, but it doesn't make sense for Arthur's character to do that. It doesn't. Because what changed? You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
what changed him from being that guy at the end of the movie? At the end of the first film, when he became pretty much the clown prince.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying he was ever, and I'm like I said, I agree with the passing of the mantle thing. The timeline doesn't make sense. But why would it be in a way that he ends up leaving the mantle altogether? That's what I think bothers me. When you look at the whole grand story of the Joker, because this is a completely, Arthur Fleck has never been in a comic. He's completely made up. This was a
Right.
complete origin story. Why would you build him to be this inspiration for him to run away from the mantle? Why wouldn't it have been more of like, I don't know. I would have thought like, I don't know.
Yeah, well, I'm trying to understand what you're saying.
Like, for me, it doesn't make sense for him to embrace the Joker at the end of the first film to end the second movie with him leaving it like completely just like, yeah, I don't want to be the Joker anymore, and then getting killed for it.
No, yeah. I'm
Like,
with
that
you.
doesn't make any sense.
Right.
It should be more so. I was thinking maybe more like maybe him and Lady Gaga had a kid or something, and that's like the passing of the torch, or like
Yeah.
maybe he's at a riot and led a riot or something, and they end up
Right.
killing him because he just won't stop.
Right. So what you're saying is if he didn't die, it's like the Joker itself is gone. It's vanished. And the only thing that's keeping the Joker going is him actually dying. And that's what's kind of stupid.
What's stupid is the way they do it. I guess at the end of the day, it is a beautiful thing because it's exactly how Murray died. It is kind of suiting, like, someone who looked
Yeah.
up to him, who inspired him, like, kills him. But I just think that for the whole story, the grand story, I think it's good. But I think for Arthur Fleck's personal story, it kind of just irritates me. You know what I mean?
No, I see what you mean.
I described it as Luke Skywalker from prequels or like, Star Wars and then Disney Star Wars, where it's
Yeah.
like Luke is not the same Luke. Like,
Right.
Luke at the end of the movie after he beats Darth Vader would never end up hiding and try and be like, oh, the Jedi should go away forever. I hate the Jedi. Like,
Yeah.
it just makes no sense. Same way I look at this movie, it's like, it doesn't make sense for him to embrace this and then at the end of this movie be like, yeah, actually, fuck that. What? I mean, it makes sense, but
It makes
don't
sense for
love
what
it.
they were going for. I agree.
Yes.
It's just not a good choice, which kind of goes back to this movie just didn't need to be made. It just didn't need to be
Yeah.
made. It needed to be thrown away. And then whatever you wanted to come up with in your brain for what happens after Joker 1, do that. Did it take over the city? How does that live on? Whatever. How does that affect Harvey Dent? How does that affect Batman? All that stuff. You can come up with that in your head, which is why I always say on every single movie review we do, we're going to talk about this for Terrifier 3. Theater of the mind is so important. It's our brains, the stuff it can think of. Our imagination is the strongest asset, the strongest tool that we have. We can come up with some crazy stuff, man. Some crazy stuff. And I feel like with Joker, that imagination that you had at the end of the first movie, it just, you kick it to the side. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it makes the first movie less enjoyable because you know what happens. And I hate that with sequels. I hate it with sequels. And this is something it did with this one. It was unneeded. I understand why they did what they did with Arthur Fleck. It makes sense. He was manipulated. All that stuff came to himself at the end, right when he throws away the Joker. His only purpose in this world by a lot of people, because think about it. What made him not a throwaway person, a human being that wasn't wanted on this earth? What gave him purpose? Being the Joker in the first movie. Being the Joker. That's what gave him purpose. That's what got his. That's what
it's
got
the
attention.
idea that he thought he was here to be like make people happy, and like through the Joker persona, he was doing that.
Right. He throws that away. What happens? No one's there for him. No one cares for him. At least he thinks so. The lawyer cared for him, but he throws away that person because of manipulation. One of the themes in this film. So it makes sense that actually he goes right back to the person he was in the first movie, right at the end of this film. And I think that that's a really special turnaround. And it comes back to the original film in that sense. Yeah. But it was unneeded. No one asked for it. No one wanted it.
I agree. At the end of the day, it's like, that's where I was like, the movie in itself, low-key to me, is a beautiful piece of work because it does make sense and I understand the entire thing. And that's, I try not to be critical about that fact where it's like, if it's because if it's an ending that I wanted and it didn't happen, that doesn't mean it's a bad movie. I think in and of itself, this movie is a beautiful creation. Do I think the world's happy with it? No, I don't think it's anyone expected or wanted, but it wasn't our choice. You know what I mean? Okay. So like, I give it its flowers. But yeah, man, I really agree with what you were saying there at the end. I don't know.
It comes down to we understand it. It just why do it? That's the question.
Yeah, because you tarnish you tarnish like. Whereas like I hold this movie highly, and Logan, as you can see, let me talk about it. I'm very passionate about the Joker films. Mm-hmm. Joker 1 was like my favorite movie of all time, which I know sounds crazy, but there's just something about it that like really touched me that I was like, damn, like acting is fire, and it's like. Again, this movie is not bad, but you just tarnish so much from the first one. And it's like, as a standalone, I can look at it and I can be like, all right, I actually enjoyed it. If you ask them, I was really happy up until the last 20 minutes. I really liked the movie until the ending. So I just think, and that contributes to the fact, as Logan said, we both know how the first movie went. So it just doesn't like seem so fulfilling in a way, but what can you say? What can you do?
Yeah, I don't really have anything else to add to it. I mean, the whole movie makes sense. It's just one of those things of why do we need it? Have
you seen the thing where they were like, what kind of, it's like, this is for Joaquin, like it was Joaquin's movie? Because apparently, so the whole thing with the movie is the movie came to Joaquin in a dream, and he approached Todd Phillips with the movie, and they're like, I fucking love it. And then they made the movie, and they were like, this is basically just like a tribute to Joaquin. Like, they only made this movie because like Joaquin wanted it made.
I mean, hey, they got a lot of money out of it, right?
Yeah.
That's one thing, but that's so they weren't thinking about doing a sequel to it. That's interesting.
It was interesting because he's the one that said he wouldn't do a sequel.
Right.
When they first did it.
Right.
And at the time I was a little pissed off, but it's like looking in again, I was expecting something different. I was expecting, the shots of him and Harley like kicking, on the stairs with people around them. I was expecting some crazy shit. I was expecting him to fully step into it and embrace that persona.
Right.
Because the problem for me, and this will be like the last thing I comment on, you look at, this is exactly what I was saying too. You look at how big, the Joker is Batman's biggest villain. The Joker is arguably the top 10 biggest movie iconic, villain in history.
Yeah. So
you're now adding the element that Arthur Fleck, in the first movie, they didn't add this element. In this movie, you've established for fact that Arthur Fleck was the inspiration for the Joker that we know and love. So now you step up, because you cross a line. Like, one, they make this case, and I'm not trying to be like insensitive, but they make it seem like it's like how big Casey Anthony was. Like this Arthur Fleck trial is like a Ted Bundy, Casey Anthony, Menendez brothers trial. Like it's a huge trial that the
Yeah.
world is in, or at least maybe not the world, but at least like the entire state's involved
Hmm.
in. You know what I mean? So you do a thing where he's the big inspiration for the biggest villain of all time, but we've never heard about him before. But like, you know what I mean? I just don't
Yeah.
feel like it was satisfying the way they did it. You don't give him enough of like a big oomph to be that thing that like everyone knows about, but then like he's just abysmal. Like we're just supposed to like never like we've never heard of Arthur Fleck even though he inspired the Joker.
Yeah.
That's where I felt like I wish they did something more sentimental or like meaningful with his character with it.
Yeah.
Then they did that. Then it kind of would have made more sense at least, you know, because now it just is like we've never heard about the guy, but he seems pretty damn important, right? So it's like I don't know.
Yeah, that's the one bad thing about these about doing origin stories that aren't really an origin story is you like you said, there's no true way to rationalize the fact he's never been brought up.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a big issue for me. Like I don't think I think that he could have easily been an influence without Heath Ledger's Joker bringing him up or anything like that. I just that's not where my issue lies with this film. Where my issue lies is the fact that it just was just unneeded. We didn't need it. It was a waste of time, a waste of story, and I hate it when sequels do this. But sequels should only be a thing if it adds something to the original film.
Mm-hmm.
This took away from the original film. That's the issue. That's where it sucks. That's why I'm not a big fan of it.
Yeah, I agree. Because the point I was making I honestly it doesn't even affect like a 0.1 of my grading system. It's just something I'm thinking about after the film.
Yeah.
It's like Miles Morales. If you ruin Miles Morales, like you've never talked about it before, you establish it. And but the problem with this is it's a prequel, so it's like this was before anything that's ever taken place. I
Right.
just like for the first time telling this story, you're gonna do it like that.
Yeah.
Like I feel like it could have been more impactful, but I agree
I
with
feel
you.
you.
The big problem of the movie is that it just takes away from the first.
Well, here's my thing. I think it was impactful, but this movie takes away from the impactfulness of the first film. When
Exactly.
when they're taking over the fucking the city.
The streets. You're
Yeah,
like,
that's
holy shit.
Yeah, that's where it's
I got
like
chills watching that scene.
right. So that can easily start the Joker. That can easily start Heath Ledger's Joker. That's kind of where my issue lies. This film takes away from it, and that's so I see what you're saying now. Yeah,
And you never like.
it lies
That's where I'm
within
like,
this film.
you've killed this man. Yo, you made such a good point just there. It's like you look at him and it's like, that is such a freaking good point. Sorry, my brain is like, that is such a good point. You could have done it that way, and then like if they've never brought him up, it doesn't matter because you don't need to know what happened to him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Now we know, huge trial, this guy's dead, but he died. I like that. I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. I didn't mean to cut you off, but that was
No.
a really good point. That was a really good point.
Yeah, we don't need to know as long as it's impactful. But like you were saying though, it just you take away from that first film. And because it did such a disservice to that first film, I can't stand this movie. I can't. I can't. Whether it was a dream or not, dude. Which, by the
Yeah.
way, sounds like that's just not true. There's no way. I feel like really what it is, that was just a fun story they wanted to do for press. I feel like, you know what I mean? I feel like what it was they wanted money. They wanted to make a sequel. This first movie made a lot of money, and 5 years later, they want to make another one.
Mm-hmm.
That's my opinion.
Yeah. No, yeah, I feel you. I ain't got much more to say about it.
All right, let's rank it, man. I went first last time. Brayden, let's hear your ranking for the Joker.
I'm gonna give it an 8.2. That might be a little high.
Wow.
Yeah.
That would make me feel like a dick.
No, but that's also like I was telling you guys that in the moment too. Like I think like I really like the musical stuff. I liked the element of it. The biggest negatives for me is that, like I said, as a solo film, I do like it. I just think in the grand scheme of things, it just wasn't the right move for the franchise. And that in the end, the ending is what really like bumps it down to an 8.2 for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I do I thought the acting was amazing. Like Harley Quinn, like man, I think they should maybe give them both noms at the Oscars. But like Lady Gaga did really good. Like that character was really well done.
Yeah.
But yeah, I liked everything about it. I think it takes away a lot. You know what I mean? A
Yeah.
lot. So
I'm with you.
maybe 8.2 is high, but I don't know.
Yeah. I was gonna go way lower, but now that I think about it, like the movie itself, like you said, what was decent. But I base sequels off of
Off
the
the
fact
first.
that they're a sequel. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? It doesn't have to be as good as the first film. I'm not saying that at all. It's gonna be hard to top that first Joker movie, but you at least need to add something to it if you're gonna do a sequel to something. This took away from it. Sequels
Yeah.
are already bad enough when they don't add anything to it, but they're horrible when you take away something from the original. I was gonna go lower. I'm gonna give this movie a 7 out of 10. I
Sure.
really like it. There's really good aspects to it. The manipulation's done better than any other film I've seen personally. I think it's a really good theme, a really interesting one.
Actually, yeah.
That I think we can dive into a lot more, like in filmmaking that we don't do enough of.
Yeah.
It's a theme that we don't see, but they destroy the whole first movie in my opinion, and what makes that first movie special, since it is a build up to the end.
Destroyed it.
If that movie did not deliver at the end, Joker's a boring movie.
Yeah.
But it did deliver at the end, and that's what makes it great. You take away from the end in this movie the one thing that made the original Joker movie great, or one of the sorry, not one of, there's a lot of great things in that film, but I mean what the movie was building up to.
It was like that's what literally you could be like, ding,
Yep.
perfect.
Yep.
Like that's what
Yep.
did it. You know what I mean?
And you take away from that in this film. I can't forgive
Yeah.
it for that. I give it a 7 out of 10. I was gonna go 6.3, but I was like, you know what? This movie had good, and it did the manipulation thing very well. Acting's very good. The cinematography is amazing. I like the aesthetic of it. So I'll you got to give it a little bit more grace, I guess. So I'll give it a 7 out of 10.
Fair.
There you go, baby. So Joker 2, we have
There you go.
You're 8.2, right?
8.2.
8.2. I'm a 7 out of 10. You guys let us know your review down below. What you thought, what your ranking is, and if you're watching this as its own separate review, like, subscribe, check out our other movie reviews. We do a review almost every single week. Go check out our website as well, actorspov.com.
Go check it out. Don't be
So-
lame. Please go check it out. Please.
We also, after we watched the Joker, just yesterday, we watched
Yeah.
Terrifier 3. Yeah, so I want to preference it by saying this. I love horror. Horror is my favorite. Well, I would say it's one of my favorite genres of film. And I think that the one thing I'm not a big fan of is gore. I've never been a big gore guy. I've always been more suspense and scares. And of course, when you got a movie like this or a movie like Saw, a franchise like Saw, it's all built on gore. That's really what it's, pushed forward. And I watched Terrifier 1, I remember, a while ago, man. When it first came out, it was on Netflix, and I was like, you know what? I'll watch this movie. I thought it was hilarious. I loved it. I loved that there wasn't a story. It was just a typical slasher. The gore was good, but it wasn't overdone, and I really, really liked the original Terrifier. So Brayden was like, yeah, hey, when we got 2, and then Brayden's like, yo, 3's coming out, let's make it happen. I'm like, I bet. So we went and watched Terrifier 3 like I said, yesterday. Brayden, what's your experience with the Terrifier franchise? When did you watch 1, and what were you thinking about going in this film?
Yeah, so Terrifier 1 came out. I watched it probably like half a year after it came out. Like I wasn't super drawn to it, but maybe not even that long. Maybe it was like 2-3 months after. Like I remember I wasn't like the initial hype, but I was coming towards the end of the hype because I was like, well, I kind of do want to watch it. It seems interesting. So I eventually checked it out, and I just remember watching it, and I was like, wow, this is fucking wild because there's like, not too much to the story, and it's just like everyone's getting slaughtered, and it was just like it was clear as hell that they were trying to push. That was like the big thing, that like establishing a killer like that, and just trying to make it as gory as possible. And then when I saw on the internet, people were seeing this one, and people they were like posting reactions to the movie, and people needed barf bags in some theaters. I was like, dude, it's got to be that freaking crazy. Yeah. So when I was looking at the movies, I saw it came out this weekend, and it's number 1 in the box office right now. I was like, dude, independent horror, we gotta do it. Let's check it out. So
so we are. There you go. We went and watched it, and I like Look, man,
Yeah.
this is definitely the most disturbing movie I've ever seen. I think that's no question. Hard to watch, man. That those
Bro,
the
the
way they
first
marketed
scene,
it was true. The first scene, the
the
opening
freaking
sequence.
opening scene, little girl thinks it's Santa.
Jesus.
She tells her parents she hears something on the roof. They go to bed. She goes downstairs, finds Santa, hides. Dude, we get the most creepy shot of just him like this weird walk that's so creepy. It felt like video game, like animated.
Yeah.
And he walks in like the kid's bedroom, and then he's like, Sienna or whatever, da da da. He's like, get out of my room. I told you not to. And then you just hear this like 7-year-old
The,
boy
the
get
little girl,
mutilated.
we're seeing this from the girl's point of view, the little girl, because she doesn't want to obviously mess with Santa. You know what I mean? She doesn't want to interrupt Santa and then not get presents. So she's watching it happen, and she sees him goes up this, like Brayden was saying, go up the steps and go to the boys' room. So you don't see it, but you hear it, like Brayden said, just hear, and you just like hear the blood gushing and stuff. It's crazy. And before this, there's a whole sequence of the mom and dad. Which I actually really liked the mom character. She was, I don't know who the actress was, but she did a pretty good job, and I really liked her character.
Yeah, the aunt.
Yeah, and she was like, the aunt, no, I'm talking about the opening.
Yeah.
And I really liked her character, and she goes down, and she sees that the door's open, and she's like, oh,
You know, like, yeah,
that's
like,
not good.
like
And,
lock the door.
yeah, and she goes up, she says, hey, to her husband, she's like, hey, it happened again, you left the door open. And then we see the whole sequence of the Art the Clown go in the boys' bedroom and then walk to the mom and dad's room. And you just see you see it from the mom's point of view. She turns over and Art's just going in on the dad, dude, just going crazy, going crazy. And then she has one of the coolest sequences, one of the coolest death sequences I would say in this film, where she just starts going downstairs and he starts going after her and keeps cutting her arms off and her legs and her head. This movie just went 10 times worse than the first and second movie. It gets gorier and gorier, which is not my cup of tea, but it was crazy. You felt for like, I think this was the scariest part of the film because it's a lot like Strangers, like the original Strangers film that came. Have you ever seen Strangers?
Yeah.
It's a lot like that. What makes that scary is that can happen to anyone.
The only good one.
Yeah, exactly. That's what makes it scary. Is they could just anyone can come right in your house and just kill you. That's crazy to think about. And that's what's terrifying about this first bit, no pun intended, is he literally makes his way into this house and starts killing these people. You feel for this family, dude. And then so the mom just starts getting destroyed. She, by the way, before she gets killed, runs into the little boy's bedroom, sees her kid dead. So disturbing.
Yeah,
bro.
like mutilated.
Dude, like this hit me hard, man. And then she sees her kid dead. She just saw her husband dead, runs downstairs, does not know where her daughter is. She assumes her daughter's dead. Doesn't know where. She's like, my daughter's dead.
She tries to escape.
It tries to escape, and then Art kills her. And then after he kills her, the little girl makes a sound, hiding in the cabinets, and he goes over and looks at her, and that's how it ends. So, bro, just like absolutely brutal.
Yeah.
Insane.
And then... Yeah, that's the craziest opening ever.
It was crazy.
And then it just opens up with Sienna coming and she's like her well, I guess maybe it's her uncle-in-law, it seemed like. You know what I mean?
It opens with the ending of Terrifier 2, with the Art's decapitated body.
Yes, and then in the prison.
Yeah, and then the
asylum.
Exactly. So then the guy pulls up, Jericho. The cop pulls up. Art's body is decapitated, and then his head pops up, and then they kill the cop. And then they go back to the asylum, like Brayden said, with the girl from the original movie and the second movie, the girl that rips off the face of the interviewer.
Yeah,
and
Victoria or whatever.
Yeah, and then Art and her kind of get back together again, and then kill a few people there. So now they're good again. They're in this house. Then these two people visit the house, the Art's like lair or whatever, which is the first time we've actually seen the lair, I believe, in the Terrifier franchise.
Yeah, because that was the thing. Like they both got like their head on the bodies and stuff. Like Vicky and him like both had their like own distinct like head on the body, And then they like went back to, which I actually really like the scene where the other Terrifier was on the subway and they let him like they didn't do anything to him.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
thought that was funny as hell. But yeah, they went to the lair and then they like just like went into like hybrid, like she slit her wrist in the bathtub and he sat in the chair and then like they just like fermented into the house.
Which was crazy.
Yeah,
That
I was
was
like I didn't
crazy.
really understand the purpose of that. Maybe they just felt like it was over
I
for now.
I didn't understand the purpose of that either because what ignites them to come back is um is these two guys that are why were they
The
there?
workers. I think they were just like cleaning the house, like they're like construction people who are like repoing it or like
Hmm.
breaking the house down.
Okay. Yeah. So these two workers pull up and then they find the girl in the bathtub, of course, and then Art the clown
One
in
of
the
them, yeah,
chair.
one of them has like one of them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they separate, they find him, and then they both get killed by, one gets killed by Art, the other gets killed by the girl in the bathtub. And that's kind of how they're reignited again. And it's Christmas time now, and which is a really cool concept. And then they start going. Then they somehow make their way back to our main character. So let's start talking about Sienna coming back. So yeah, we got Sienna, Jonathan that are back again. These are the two kids from the Terrifier 2 film. They're continuing that story. She's visiting her aunt and her niece. I don't
Yep.
know how far the town is from the other town, but she's visiting her family. And still dealing with the events, of course, of Terrifier 2.
Yeah,
Uh,
they talk about her like being on medication
yeah.
and she sees flashbacks and sees like therapists and stuff.
Mhm. She's messed up, and rightfully
Yeah.
so. Anyone's gonna be messed up from that, man. She saw all our friends die. But and like her mom, that's crazy. Um,
Yeah.
that was a crazy death. That was the shotgun was
That
insane.
was yeah.
But no. So anyway, so she runs into her family. They hang out and she's visiting them. And she has a journal that she writes in. And her niece, she told her niece, "Hey, don't read this at all. Don't read any of it." Her niece read it, and she found
You
out
tell a
through a
little kid
stupid
not
thing.
to do something,
They're gonna do it.
they do it.
And
Yeah.
this wasn't the worst kid character in a movie, but I was not a fan of the niece. I was like, I cannot wait for this little girl to get just like thrown off of a roof. And that just did not happen. She actually got thrown into hell. But
Yeah, I
uh,
mean, yeah, it depends on how you look at it, but I think she got a worse fate.
yeah, no, honestly. Which is something that's really interesting because Brayden brought up a good point. I don't think she's dead, and probably not, which we'll get to in a little bit, just because of what happened in the second movie when what's her
Yeah.
name, Sienna got thrown into that little pit, the devil pit or whatever, and she goes back
Yeah.
into that dream and then comes back. So I don't know what's gonna happen there. They're definitely setting up a fourth one with that, but that's a whole
Yeah.
nother story. So anyway, here's the thing though, Sienna visiting her family. She can't be too far away from her hometown because Jonathan is in the same town she's in. Remember?
Well, he ended up, I agree. He ended up going to college, but they make it seem like, but that's the thing though, she leaves. I don't think maybe they're still in the same town because she just leaves town, remember? That's why she was like, don't ever
Right.
leave us again.
Right.
So it might be more of the fact
She's
that
visiting,
like they're
back
still, yeah, she just
Mm.
came back like from wherever she went to.
Okay, that makes sense. So Jonathan's in the same town. She has you got these stupid side characters I don't really care for. Jonathan's new friends from college or whatever.
Yeah, like
you got
the roommate and the girl that's like obsessed with their story.
the hot one. Yeah. So
Yeah.
you got them. Which they have a really cool death. One of the coolest sequences later
Yeah.
on in the film, which is kind of crazy. But
Definitely kind of crazy.
definitely. So
I think the mall was still the
mall
one
was
I was like,
pretty gnarly. The mall. So anyway, so that we'll go to that. So
Yeah.
it's Christmas time. They go to the mall. It's Sienna and her niece. They get pretty close.
Yeah. For the context for this, just before we keep going, like the uncle has been talking to the aunt, and like Sienna and the niece have been hanging out a lot, and like they're getting a little bit closer, but like they're trying to be like the uncle's like we should be mindful, like don't let her get too close, and they end up going to the mall that day, like you said, and then they're like shopping for just like Christmas stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. So they're just going there, hanging out. And then while they're there, Well, actually, no, not why they're there, but literally right after they leave, Art the Clown shows up at this place. And there's also before this though, you have the whole Santa thing. Remember?
Yeah,
Sorry, we'll get to that. So
the
before any of
bar.
this happens, yeah, there's a bar scene where he pulls up to this bar, and there's a Santa and like two other
It's
guys
like the
there.
night before because they go to the mall like
Yeah,
early in the morning after
exactly.
they wake up.
So this is the night before. He's in town now. He just gets in town, and after traveling once again on the train and stuff, and he gets here, and he goes to this bar with these three guys. One of them is dressed up as Santa, and it's so funny in the scene. He pulls up. He's like, he's freaking out. He's like a Santa Claus, dude. He points at the sign. He's all happy, jumping around. Really funny performance, dude, by the guy that plays him. And
It's
runs
funny.
over.
It was actually going all so well for him. Like they bought
Yeah.
him a drink and stuff, and like I guess Art just didn't realize, and he spits the drink in the dude's face that bought it for him, and then everyone kind of turns on him.
Well, they thought that was funny, but then he peed. Remember?
Oh yeah,
He started
yeah,
peeing
then he
on him.
peed.
Yeah, and he was like, "What are you doing, dude?" And that's kind of what ignited everything.
What are you
and then he
doing, dude?
No, literally, and then he started killing him. And started with the worker, and then the other guy, or the main guy that owned the bar, the other dude, and then the
And
Santa
Santa.
kill was the coolest one because he like kidnapped him, or not kidnapped, but like tied him up, hit him on the head, tied him up, put him on a chair, and then had the liquid nitrogen that was gonna freeze him, and
Froze
he
the shit.
froze him, and then just started beating him up, dude. It was crazy,
Yeah.
brutal. God, it was brutal. And then put the snowman nose into his face. That was
Into his
pretty funny.
face. Yeah, that was crazy.
Crazy.
Crazy kill.
So that was the night before. So that's the first time we see Art kind of go crazy.
Kind of go ham. Yeah.
Um,
Then we get to the mall.
and then we get to the mall, and
Santa at the mall is like, having fun with all the. Art
Art steals the Santa costume from the guy. By the way,
Yeah, Art steals the Santa costume, and when this Santa, he's like done having like the kids ask him like what they want for Christmas, he's taking a break. He goes in the back, and Art comes out with a bag of his own. And honestly, you think from every movie, dude, it's gonna be like the tool of like murder weapons, but to our surprise, it was gifts. And the first kid comes over, and they all storm over, and they get all the gifts, and they're pulling out the gifts in the bag. Everyone's going back to their parents. Until it finally gets on the last parent. And I looked at Logan and I called it like right before it happened. I have a weird feeling. The last kid, out of everyone gets like an actual present, he gets a box like wrapped. And I was like, oh no, dude. And he starts to unwrap it. And as he opens it, I predicted, I was like, it's a bomb. He opens the box. And right when he goes, dude, it literally pans in on like, I couldn't even believe this. Like, this is, pardon me, this is horrible. It's like dead children. It's like,
yeah, it's crazy.
It's like insane. I was like, Damien, holy shit, dude. Like, that's why for me, like, that might have been the craziest part because it's like, you know what I mean? Like, what?
I don't know why you would. I don't know why people get enjoyment out of that. It's crazy to me.
Like, it's insane.
That was too much, man.
Insane.
Yeah, because by the way, that's not the first time they show a dead kid because they showed the kid earlier in the opening scene. That was crazy. So, that scene was insane, man. And then they get home, and by the way, this whole time Sienna's having these visions
like
of Art, and then she sees on the news, 5 people are dead, 6 people are dead, 20 critically injured or in critical condition. Art's back, and it's going crazy. He escapes, and that's kind of when everything starts to go down.
Yep. I like the big reveal. Like the uncle is watching it on the TV at home, and like there's like the whole murders at like the mall, and she's like, "Oh my god!" Like we were just there today. Like I saw him.
She freaks out.
Was that before or after she read the journal?
This is after, I believe.
Right. Yeah, so there's just like the slight scene before. I think they show them like they get home, they have dinner, and like she like right before dinner, she's like, "Oh yeah, you don't like cereal," and she was like, "Hey, can we go upstairs real quick?" And she was like, "How would you know that?"
Yeah.
And then we find out she's been reading her journal, and it cuts back to they're like, "Let's play for a little," and then they come downstairs, and then on the news it talks about the murders, and Sienna has a crash out moment, and they're like, "You got to go get my brother, go get my brother."
Yep.
She ends up going to sleep.
The dad goes to go get or the uncle goes to go get the brother, and then that cuts to the sequence of the 2 kids. So you have You have Jonathan and then his two friends that we talked about earlier, the boyfriend and girlfriend. So then it cuts to the boyfriend and girlfriend's kill. Their kill's insane. They're in the shower
Yeah.
doing their thing. Art's there just peeing in the urinal,
Oh,
bro, just vibing.
I do want to say, because it's not a big scene, but I think it's a crucial scene we did miss. Right before all this, Sienna does go to try and see him, Jonathan, at school,
Mm,
and the friends like pull up on them, and then like the I think her name was Mia, the hot girl was like trying to like ask them like what they do in their day to day and how they cope, and then she has a crash out moment, and
yeah,
Jonathan's like, "Go, like, why the fuck did you do that?" When they're 1-on-1, they talk
yeah,
about art, and he basically is just like, "I don't want to do this anymore. Like, drop it, and then
yeah.
leave me alone." And then yeah, that's right before the whole like they see the murders at the mall, and
I
like she has a crash out moment.
the one thing that I'm not a big fan of this movie is and listen, they introduced a story, so you got to give them credit where credit's due. But there's just so much more depth with that you could have gone in the relationship Jonathan and Sienna's, you know what I'm saying, and dealing with
Yeah,
that which we've seen in so many sequels to horror movies. I know, but just dealing with that experience and that shared trauma, like that's something that's very interesting to dive into.
yeah.
And they just didn't. They really didn't touch on it too much. Which, like I said, listen, bro, and you're in Terrifier, dog. Like we're not expecting an Oscar worthy story, but it's just such an interesting story that could have been really, really
Touch
well
on
done.
more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is why I'm a big fan of the Scream TV series because that's what they really harped on in the second season of that show. Why it's one of my favorite shows is because they did a really good job of showing that. So and how people don't trust people. You know what I'm saying? Like you see that in Sienna, but not in the relationships around her, and that's
Yeah,
what I'm not
right.
a big fan of. Anyway,
I see
so
that.
so yeah, so then you cut, like I said, later on, after all that happens, the uncle gets Jonathan. We then cut to the college, and it's the girlfriend and boyfriend. They're in the shower doing their thing, and then he's over there, at the urinal. He has a chainsaw, bro. He revs up the
Yeah, they're
chainsaw.
like in the shower, like doing their thing, and
Yeah.
then you know, he cuts right through the glass.
Yeah. Then they just get the chainsaw to start going in, and they die. It's crazy, bro. They kill the boyfriend first. The boyfriend's like protecting the girl, which is kind of dope, dude. Good for
It
hey,
was
shout out
like
to my boy.
to compare it, it was definitely kind of like the first movie kill. Like, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that chainsaw one where she cuts her in half. Like, that's the best way.
Well,
They
so
were
so
trying to top that with this scene.
yeah. So then the boyfriend gets chopped up a little bit. He falls to the ground, and then Art lets him go. Then he goes to the girl, and the girl gets messed up, bro. The girl gets messed up bad. He looks
Yeah.
at the girl, and he just goes crazy. He cuts her face, cuts her arms, her legs, her stomach, her sides, everything, bro. And then she's sitting there. She can't even like. Because, by the way, early on in the movie, she was like, what is it like? Because she was talking to Sienna at that moment. She had the crash out.
She's like, I want to see what it's like to like
yeah,
look him in the eye and
right.
like smell him and feel his
Yeah. Well,
presence.
she did. She definitely did. And she's like, when you feel his breath on you. And Art let that happen. Art, she's sitting there just like, dude, barely hanging on. She shouldn't even be alive at this point. She's looking at him, and you see the eye-to-eye contact and him breathing on her. And it's that big moment. So she goes out. She gets what she wants. Then he turns to the boyfriend. The boyfriend's on the ground crawling, you know what I mean, trying to get away from Art. And then Art just picks him up, flips him, literally goes right to his crotch, starts there, and just goes up his body with chainsaw.
Yeah. It was insane.
Insane.
Yeah.
Insane.
Yeah.
Yeah, that whole sequence was gnarly, man. So then
Gotta
after
have
that,
a good stomach, boys and
yeah,
girls, if you're gonna watch this.
you need to, man. So then that happens, and I thought this was a dream sequence. This messed me up really, really bad. So then we cut back. He's going to get Jonathan. Sienna's upstairs, and then Sienna comes back downstairs to get like a drink or something. Remember?
They're talking shit,
Yeah,
and it's a Terrifier.
and it's a terrifying. I thought this was a dream sequence. At
Yeah.
first, I was like, okay, they're going forward with it, whatever. I'm not sold on it. And then it just kept going. I'm like, okay, this is actually a real thing. She comes downstairs. The girl without the face is there. Terrifier's there. And they're like, hi, what's up? I'm going to knock you out. Knocks out Sienna. Sienna wakes up. And you have,
Her and the aunt tied up.
yeah, the aunt's tied up in front of her. And then there's a gift wrapped up in the table in the middle.
And then we see the dad's head as like the tree ornament on top of the thing.
star,
And this
yeah.
right before this, he got to the house and like they kind of like hinted to it. He was like, "Where are you? I don't see your car out there." And he was like, "I'm right up beside where you said." He was like, "Okay, I'll be right there." And like his voice changed, and you're like, "Uh-oh."
Yeah.
And then we didn't see them again. And then you just see his head on the tree as like the star. And then there was a body tied up, like slit open that
Yeah.
like, Art the Clown was like working on.
Yeah.
And then they're tied up, and then we're like, what the hell? And
Yeah.
then were you saying like they had the present on the table?
Right. And then they wake up. They're talking with the Terrifier. Terrifier's messing with them, and dude, it's crazy, bro. The girl without the face has this obsession with rats. And earlier on in the film, they did the liquid nitrogen on the rats, and it was kind of foreshadowing to what happened with the Santa guy. And he uses it a couple times. But dude, they get this like plastic tube with the on, and then he puts it in her mouth, gets a hammer and bangs it into her mouth, bro. I could, you can ask Brayden. I wasn't watching half of this movie because I couldn't do it. And you just hear your boom, 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 boom. Her mouth gets bigger, 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 and then they get a rat, start putting the rats in her body.
Yeah, they let the rats go down and start eating.
Dude, but before this, they open up the present in the middle because they're like, okay, where's the little girl at?
Gabby.
Where's the little girl? Where's Gabby? And then they're like, okay, I'll show you. Not really, Art doesn't talk, but he's like, all right, bet I'll show you right now. Opens it up. It's a little bird cage.
No, I think it was Vicky that said it though.
Was it Vicky? Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, because Vicky did talk a little bit. So then Vicky opens it up. There's rats in this bird cage with a skull, and you don't know who the skull is. And then and you're like, oh my god, it's Vicky, or not Vicky. Oh my god, it's Gabby. Oh my god, they're freaking out. And then the mom, thinks that. She's like, wow, that's my daughter right there. You killed my daughter. She's freaking out. And then that's when they do the whole thing. Then they take the rats out of the birdcage, put it in the mom's mouth. They start eating through her. They cut the rats out of her body. It was crazy. Dude, it was so messed up, dude. And this whole time, Sienna's sitting there watching this. And what they're trying to do, the reason Art and them are doing this, is they're trying to get the sword from the second film that had the ability to kill them. You can't hurt Art. Art's someone who you just can't kill. He's supernatural. They explain a little bit more in this movie. He's demonic. What the relationship is with the dad, we don't know. The dad had this sword. That's the only thing that can actually hurt these people. And they talked about it. The girl without the face. They're trying to the demons are using them as vessels.
Yeah, like they're trying to use her as a vessel now.
Yeah. So because it's in Art and it's in the girl without the face. They're demons and it's the vessels, and they're trying to use Sienna's body as a vessel. And also get rid of the weapon that could kill them. So that's why they're doing all this.
They talk about how like Gabby's the only reason she's still holding on.
Yeah.
And then like Gabby and her brother, and then they like bring Gabby out, and then we find out Gabby isn't the head in the middle. We're like, oh my god! And then they reveal she's like, well, that's not Gabby. I wonder who it is. And then they put like the glasses on the skull, and you find out it's her brother. And they killed her brother, and then they put that on the freaking. They put that out there, and you're just like, what the fuck?
Which we were talking about. We're like, dude, the fact that they did that to a character that was a huge character in the second film is wild, and they just kind of threw him away like that. Like, he had moments in this third movie, but he really wasn't in it too much. It was crazy.
I know, right? And I do really like his character. You know what I mean?
Hey, he was cool. Hey, what do you mean? What are you talking about?
Hey, man, come on, we gotta get out of here.
No, yeah, I don't know why it was really weird the way that they did his character, and I don't think they did him well. But whatever. That he's not part of the story now. It's Sienna's story to tell, and eventually, after the mom dies and they can't get the vessel out, they're like Gabby's the only person that's keeping her here. They then pull Gabby out. They've had Gabby the whole time, and Gabby's actually alive, like Brayden was talking about.
Yeah, they start cutting her up and like abusing her shit. It's horrible.
Dude, the hands, they like break her hands on the thing. And then
no, that was the thing. They were like, "Do you want it?" Like they're about to kill her, and they're like, "Oh, it's too bad you didn't let her open her present." And then Vicky was like, "Oh, well, that's not fair. You should get to open the present."
Yeah.
And they had her tied up. They broke her hands, Sienna's hands, and then let her out to open the present.
That was a crazy scene.
Yeah, it was a crazy scene. I made jokes to Logan just because like she went from like smashed hands to like fully capable working hands. We just
to grabbing swords and grabbing stuff and fighting them. I was like,
people.
Come on, dude. Yeah. I don't care about adrenaline. Your body will physically not let you pick up stuff.
Let you do it.
That's crazy. Your hands are destroyed.
Yeah. She ended up with destroyed palms. Opens it. It's a sword. Stabs Art. Goes. Kills Vicky. Rips her shit up. and then it's a three-way battle between Gabby, her, and Art, and they have this like probably like 7-8 minute fight scene. It's super cool, and they're just going back and forth, just fighting and kicking and all this, and then the blood from Vicky's head is like causing like a pit to form around Gabby where she's sitting.
Yeah.
And then as they're finishing the fight, it kind of like the floorboards fall through and Gabby falls in. She's hanging on. She's screaming for Sienna. And, you know, she's beating Art the Clown. She has Art the Clown stabbed in the stomach and she could kill him, but she wants to save Gabby. So she stabs him one more time and like runs over and puts the sword down and holds the blade so she can grab the handle. And she's pulling her up. She's pulling her up. And Gabby, of all people, slips off the blade. Not the
No,
girl
not not,
holding the
not the
actual
blade.
blade.
Actually fell off the handle.
The handle, yeah. So she slips off into the pit, and as she falls, like she screams, and then like it just, and then kind of like the
Yeah.
color goes away, and it just goes back to like that portal that was open. You can clearly see is now closed. It's just earth and like below floorboards now. And she turns around. Art the Clown has escaped. And then, yeah, he's just at the bus stop, and he looks quite defeated.
Yeah.
And he just
No.
gets on the bus and rides away.
Yep. So Sienna still has the sword. That's a good thing. My guess is they're gonna have to use Art to get to Gabby. Is my guess. You know what I'm saying? They're gonna have to use him somehow to get to Gabby. I don't know how it's gonna happen, but they're gonna have to do that. Good news is Sienna has a step up having that sword with her. Even though Art does still have all of his tools and stuff with him. The thing that's the big question is, what kind of connection does Sienna's dad have with Art the Clown? Because he drew Art the Clown in his comic book. We know that for sure. There's some kind of history there we don't know anything about. And that's what I'm very interested in. In this film, there's a moment where it goes back to when they were, little kids, or when Sienna was a little girl, and her dad drew the costume, because he was a comic book drawer and drew like superheroes and stuff. And that was what he did for a living. And he drew a character for Sienna, which is the outfit that she wore in the second film for Halloween, and that's how she got the sword and everything as well from her dad, and as we know in the second film. So while there's a throwback scene that one of the last times she saw her dad, I believe, he was like they were sitting in his room and something started happening. Like this door started like lighting up and it started banging and like everything got really red and he's like, you need to go, I love you, you need to go. She leaves and then something happens. We don't know what went down. So there's a history. She wakes
up from the dream, but yeah, there was like a history there.
Yeah, very interesting. So no telling they're gonna explore that in Terrifier 4 for sure. We'll see what happens, but I think it's a good way to end it. Is the fourth one.
I agree, because after that point, you're explaining too much in the theater of the brain.
You've already explained too much. I talked to Brayden about this. The good thing about Halloween, the original Halloween, is you don't know what this creature is. You don't know if he's supernatural. You don't know if he's human. You don't know what Michael Myers is. That's what makes him scary. He's a normal guy, but he can get stabbed and stay alive. He can get shot 6 times from Dr. Loomis at the end of the film, fall down, and he's still alive. That's scary. Mm-hmm. Who is this guy? What is he? Is he human? Is he not? Is he supernatural? What's going on? That's how I felt in the original movie with Art. Art got beat up a little bit in that movie, but he stayed alive. He survived it. What made that scary is he human? Is he supernatural? What is Art? And in the second film and the third film, they just made him full demonic, and I hate that.
Yeah,
I hate
they
that.
Make it like an entity.
It's not scary because it's not real. It doesn't. It makes
it's not scary. Damn it!
It makes it less scary as a viewer because it's not grounded. That's my point. So, yeah, I'm not a big fan.
No, I feel you. I agree. That's all I got to say about it. I agree with you 100%. You hit it right in the nail. Hit the nail on the head, baby.
Right then, baby. All right, anything else you want to say on this film, Brayden?
I think this film is a really disturbing film. I think that some people enjoy things like this, weirdly. But I think Terrifier has cemented itself as I think Art the Clown is going to go down in a horror icon for the rest of history. I think the Terrifier movies are going to, get bigger. I think there's going to be not sequels, like spinoffs and stuff and prequels. And I think there's a big thing coming from this series. And I think it's just because they, I said this to Logan, you would never see a studio fund a film like this because of the S-win that they push. But that's also why it's getting as much craze as it is, because they did it all themselves and they did stuff that no one else would do, and they're receiving the attention for it. So,
yep.
If you've seen the movies, check it out. It's definitely the craziest of them all. So,
It's crazy. If you like gore, if you like Saw, if you like the first two films, this might be one of your favorites. It's really really
It
interesting.
actually has
really
a pretty
well done.
decent story.
Yeah, it does a good job with it. I think the second one might have been. Yeah, no, I think the second story might have been a little bit better. For the second film.
Yeah.
Because it was new and fresh. But this was good though. I just feel like they could have dove a little bit more into the grief section. I'm gonna go and do a rating because I went first the first time. It sucks because I'm not a big gore guy. I'm never gonna watch this movie again because I don't want to watch that stuff. That's just crazy. When you bring kids into it, dude, that's insane. I but it's a fun horror movie though. I'll give it a 7 out of 10. It's good.
Fair.
It's good.
Yeah, fair.
I think the first two movies are better, I would say, but first movie's amazing, but I think this is a 7.
I'm gonna say 7.9 out of 10.
Yes, sir. Why not 8?
It's not a. All right, fine.
You wanted it. You wanted it.
I'll give it an 8. I was considering it. I was like 7.9. No, we'll give it an 8. It was a bad movie. No, like it met a lot of good things like from horror movies. It's just a lot. That's like the big negative. It's a lot, and I know that's what they're doing on purpose. So like for people who will like, that's why I'm saying it's an 8. You'll like the movie, but like it's not for everybody.
Mm-mm. No, definitely very selective. But we need a Terrifier house at Universal. Horror Nights, bro.
Let's get
That'd be
it.
crazy.
They're coming out with a game.
Really? Is it a open world or is it?
No, I think it's. I don't know actually. They're coming out with a Quiet Place game.
And Halloween, which is I know the Halloween one's open world. That's gonna be dope. It's actually story driven. It's gonna be so.
Yeah,
cool.
it's gonna be sick.
Yeah. Like you're just like going to the store, dude. Michael Myers is behind you. You're like, oh shit. I'm just trying to shop at Publix, bro. But yeah, so there you go. 7, 8 out of 10 for both of us, man. You guys let us know your review down below, and if you're watching the review section, go like, subscribe, comment down below, and go visit our website, actorspov.com.
Go
Brayden,
visit the website. Please visit the website.
and for everyone watching the full Actors POV episode, we love y'all, man. We love you guys. Brayden, anything you want to say to these people?
Yo, I do have one thing to say. Go check out I Win on Amazon Prime. Your boy is in it. It just dropped. It's a phenomenal coming-of-the-age film, family film. It's got a great story. Yeah, if you want to see moi, it's on Amazon Prime. Go buy or rent it. We appreciate you and the support. So, thank you.
Go check it out, man. Go check it out. You guys will love it. It's a beautiful story. Brayden killed it. Go check that on Amazon Prime. I'll put the link in the description below. Website. We love you guys. Stay safe, baby.